PressBox and Sports Boosters have teamed up with the Zola Leonard Group of Smith Barney Financial Advisors to present Shoes for Grades, awarding free athletic shoes to high school students who improve their grades by a full letter. Go to PressBoxOnline.com now for more info. And welcome back to Inside PressBox, presented by our friends at Friedmont Mortgage. One of the biggest surprises in the football championship subdivision this season has been the play of the Towson University Tigers football team, which has moved up to number 15 in the polls this week. Joining me now to talk about this, the Tigers' great success, is Simon Habtemariam, who writes for PressBoxOnline.com, also the paper, and does some Towson blogging. We appreciate your coming in, Simon.
Yeah, not a problem.
Well, what does Simon say about the Towson Tigers? How big a surprise is their 5-1 record?
Simon says that if you told me last year that Towson would be at above 500 at this point in the season, if you told me Towson would have won a conference game at this point in the season, I would have said you would have been dead wrong. At this point now, they're talking playoffs, and I haven't been prepared for this kind of action in 5 years since the last time they had a winning record.
Now, what is the big difference there? I mean, Rob Ambrose, I'm not saying he was on thin ice at all, but because he was hired by Mike Waddell's predecessor, but he comes in this season, I think he was what, like 3-18 coming into this season. He's 5-1 this year. What's the big difference?
Offense, defense, and special teams.
All
to be
that.
trite,
yeah.
It's 100% turnaround. The amount of energy put into practice is unheard of in this program. The amount of buzz going around campus right now is unheard of. This team's 700 fans away from breaking their single season attendance record.
And they still have 2 games to go.
They still have 2 games to do that.
So they're going to blow that away by close to 20,000 fans, maybe a little bit more than that.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, 700 people, that's the marching band in both of these games at this point.
Now, they've got 5 games left this season, 2 home games and 3 road games. And you were telling me, because you know the conference pretty well, that the game in Maine in 3 weeks is a pretty tough one, and the game in 2 weeks at Unitas Stadium, or over there, Johnny Unitas Field, is against Delaware. Both of those are tough games.
Those will probably be the 2 most crucial games going into the rest of the season. Delaware first, because that's their long-standing rival and they're a powerhouse in this conference. But that goes without saying. At this point, every team in the CAA is a powerhouse. They have 9 nationally ranked teams in their conference at this point. And then at Maine is going to be big because, A, it's their biggest trip of the year. They're flying up to Maine. And right now, Towson is tied with Maine for the lead in the conference. So depending on Maine's momentum going in the next couple of games, that's going to set up for a heavyweight matchup.
Now, I know you work for PressBox as a freelancer, and you also do some stuff for Towson, and you went to school at Towson.
Yes, I did.
So I guess in a way, Mike Waddell is one of your bosses. But in another way, speak freely about what he's meant to the overall mindset of Towson. Could this turnaround have happened without him and his presence on campus?
I think it could have. It would not have happened within the first 3 years of Rob Ambrose being hired. Yeah. Under other administrations before, it used to be athletics was just kind of an apathetic movement. They were okay with a B-plus product. A B-plus product would have been welcome a few years ago. And now with Mike Waddell stepping in, he's sort of taken everything personally. When he goes in there, he's on the sidelines. If you see some of the YouTube clips of the Old Dominion when they just had this huge comeback victory in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter, you see him running down the sidelines as Tom Ryan catches a 63-yard touchdown for the go-ahead score, screaming. He's the biggest fan of any athletic director I've ever met.
Now, let's get to the faces of Towson football this year. We know about Rob Ambrose, okay? Very confident guy despite that 3-18. I mean, in other words, if you would talk to him, you'd think he was 18-3, not 3-18. But tell us a little bit about the guys that you will see playing on Saturdays for this team. Quarterback, running back.
Well, like you said, quarterback, running back, the biggest stories so far have been really big transfers coming in to this program. This program in 2011 is really structured like a mid-major Cinderella team
in basketball.
Like a basketball caliber, in that They start off with Ambrose a couple years ago, came in, started setting his foundation. They weren't winning at first, but he was starting to change the culture of the team. Now he's been able to set the chess pieces in play that he's able to bring in
a transfer from here and there, and
some major transfers. He brought over a couple guys that he scouted while he was at UConn. A few people that he knows through people from Boston College came in. Right now, Terrence West is a freshman sensation. He came from a military academy.
Right.
Not a big transfer, but a big developed product. This is a huge product in a freshman that didn't play the first game of the season and is now leading the conference in touchdowns.
How about on the defensive side of the ball?
There haven't been many big things on the defensive side of the ball. The defensive back right now, Jordan Dangerfield, has been a pretty big story. He transferred over from Hofstra, who lost their football program. But when your star safety is leading the team in tackles, that kind of doesn't say much about how you tackle in the open field, how you stop the run in between the 20s. But this has been the best red zone defense in the country. This has been something that's really remarkable. When you see them in between the 20-yard lines, it's a completely different story than when you see them in the red zones. They're one of the best scoring defenses. They're one of the best defenses against the score in the country.
A lot of people have felt that Towson Athletics has been a sleeping giant for a long time because it is a big state school, essentially.
Yep, it's the second biggest in the state.
A quick question. You know, because you went there and you know this level of school, how is this going to play out, this kind of success? And if Pat Skeery can have that kind of success in basketball, how does that play out in the recruiting trails?
It's finally put them on the map of, instead of sitting back and saying, oh, well, this is what Towson could be. Now they're saying, that's what Towson was, this is what Towson is, and now let's see what Towson could be. The potential has sort of broken this ceiling that was just always had this apathetic level that they were never able to get over.
Yeah, I can't get over when Jerry Sandusky was at the groundbreaking when he said Mike Waddell's job is to come here and show people how not to think small and think of themselves as small.
Exactly, yes.
And it looks like that's what's going on there.
So far, so good, and only time will tell. And let's see what this basketball program looks in 3 years.
All right. We'll have you back on when basketball season starts. Well, it's starting. We'll have you on in mid-season.
Yeah.
Simon Habtemariam, you can read him on PressBoxOnline.com. Join me and Jerry Coleman before every home Ravens game at the Stalking Horse on Cross Street in Federal Hill as we broadcast live on ESPN 1300. Check out PressBox Live, presented by Budweiser, and enjoy plenty of Budweiser specials.